Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm truly excited to share this piece of history with you, one that's often surrounded by mystery, misinterpretation, and far too often, silence. Today we are exploring the incredible and powerful story of the Moors. You may have heard the term before, perhaps in passing, maybe in a classroom, or even from someone telling you, "You don't know where you come from." It's a phrase that echoes through generations, especially for Black people searching for deeper roots and hidden stories. The history of the Moors gives us an answer to that call. It reminds us that we came from more than chains. We came from brilliance, from leadership, from civilization. That is why I do this. That is why I teach. Because in uncovering the truth about the Moors, we uncover the truth about ourselves. The word Moors was originally used by Christian Europeans. It wasn't a name the people called themselves. It was a label placed on them, often to generalize the Muslim populations living in the Iberian Peninsula, which is present-day Spain and Portugal. These people were a mix, mainly of North African Berbers and Arabs. The Berbers, indigenous people from the Maghreb region of North Africa, made up the majority. Over time, the term Moors came to refer more broadly to Muslim Africans, particularly those with dark skin. European writers of the Middle Ages described the Moors as swarthy and dusky words, used to describe their rich, dark skin tones. It was their African heritage that defined much of who they were. But these weren't just dark-skinned warriors passing through Europe. They were the builders of empires, the bringers of knowledge, and the bearers of faith. Their rise to power began after the fall of the Roman Empire, around 476 AD. Europe was crumbling into the chaos of the Middle Ages, but across the Mediterranean, the Islamic world was growing in strength, science, and spirit. It was in this time of transition that the Moors arrived in Europe. In 711 AD, a brilliant military leader named Tariq ibn Ziyad led a powerful army across the narrow stretch of sea separating North Africa from Europe. That stretch of water is called the Strait of Gibraltar, and the place where they landed, the massive limestone rock, was named after him. Gibraltar, from the Arabic Jabal Tariq, meaning Mountain of Tariq. It was here that history was made. Tariq's army defeated King Roderick of the Visigoths at the Battle of Guadalete, a moment that marked the beginning of Muslim rule in Spain. From that victory, the Moors swept across the Iberian Peninsula. They didn't stop. They advanced further into Spain and even reached parts of southern France. At their peak, the Moors ruled parts of Europe for nearly 750 years. Think about that. 7.5 centuries of influence, control, and transformation. They didn't just rule, they revolutionized. Under their rule, Spain flourished. Cities like Cordoba, Granada, and Seville became centers of learning and culture. They built breathtaking palaces and mosques, designed with elegant arches, glittering tiles, and peaceful courtyards. They brought new crops, introduced new irrigation systems, and established hospitals and universities at a time when the rest of Europe was still clinging to survival. The Moors preserved and expanded on the knowledge of ancient civilizations. They translated Greek and Roman texts into Arabic, advanced medicine and astronomy, and developed algebra. Yes, you heard correctly. The very word algebra comes from Arabic. They brought the concept of zero, advanced surgical tools, and maps so accurate they would guide European explorers centuries later. One fascinating figure of this golden age was Ziryab, a musician, fashion expert, and cultural icon who arrived in Spain around 822 AD. Ziryab changed the way people lived. He introduced the use of crystal glasses instead of metal cups because metal would sometimes make people sick when drinking. He taught people to drink wine and eat in courses, starting with soup, then the main dish, then dessert. He influenced hairstyles, seasonal fashion, personal hygiene, and even dental care. Ziryab's influence touched everything from the table to the wardrobe. The way we dine today, with separate courses and silverware, can be traced back to his presence in Al-Andalus. But this history wasn't just about culture and science. It was also a time of religious tension. The Moors were Muslim, while the majority of Europe was Roman Catholic. This wasn't just a war over land, it was also a war of faiths. Over the centuries, Christian kingdoms in the north of Spain slowly pushed south, reclaiming land piece by piece. This long campaign was known as the Reconquista, which means the reconquest. It finally ended in 1492, when the last Moorish stronghold, the city of Granada, fell to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. That same year, Christopher Columbus sailed to the Americas, and a new chapter of European colonialism began. And yet, even in defeat, the legacy of the Moors endured. Their influence could not be erased. It remained in the architecture, the language, the food, the music, the science, and in the very soul of Spanish identity. For many of us, the story of the Moors is personal. It reminds us that our history didn't begin with slavery. We were leaders, thinkers, innovators, and builders. This history is not just black history, it is world history. So if this is your first time joining us, welcome. This space is for lovers of truth, of history, of stories that need to be told. Thank you to everyone who continues to support this journey, to those who comment, who share, who believe that our past holds the key to our future. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if something in this story moved you, leave a comment. I try my best to respond. And to those who know, keep teaching. And to those just discovering, keep learning. Because knowing your history is knowing your power.